Namaskar. Welcome everybody to our fourth episode of Talks on Life. Today's question has come from Elena. Her spiritual name is Aradhana. She has asked, what is the meaning of the expressions Dharma and Sankalpa? Elena, you have also mentioned in your question that in your country now yoga is becoming very popular and everybody is using Sanskrit words just as a show off. It's becoming fashionable. So even when they really don't understand these words, they are just throwing them around. Let me assure you that the same thing happens in India also. These are quite common words in India, Dharma and Sankalpa, but people use them without really understanding the meaning of these words or without really going deep into the context of these words. For example, in India, they use the word Dharma as religion. For example, Hindu Dharma or Christian Dharma or Islam Dharma. Dharma has got nothing to do with this. Religion is a kind of a doctrine, it's kind of an institutionalized belief system which is community based, and that has got nothing to do with the word Dharma. Before I go into the root of this word, let me just give you an example. As we all know that the universe is expanding limitlessly, and we are all not only a part of this universe, essentially we are the universe. So when we expand in our heart, in our mind, through love, through discrimination, knowledge, service, we are in Dharma. But when we don't do that, we stop expanding or we start regressing into selfishness, into confinement, then that becomes the opposite, adharma. Dharma, the opposite word is adharma. And there is another word which is called swadharma. We will come to that later. So now we come to the root of this word dharma. It comes from the main element dhri followed by a suffix gam. Dhri means that which sustains, holds, contains, and gam means that which keeps us dynamic, moving, progressing in the intended direction. These two combine to make dharma. And dharma is really an inherent character in everything. Before we come to human beings, let me explain that in our scriptures, they have given beautiful examples. For example, that there is fire. And what is the dharma of a fire? It burns. When you put your finger inside the fire, you have to withdraw the finger immediately because it burns your skin. Now, suppose you see something like a fire, but you are not really sure whether it is a fire. You will put your finger in there and nothing will happen to the skin. It is not burning you. That means it is not fire. Why? Because it is not following the dharma of fire. That is how the scriptures explain this concept of dharma. Water. What is the dharma of water? When you put your hand inside the water, it gets wet. Now, suppose you visit another planet and you see a liquid flowing and you wonder, it is colorless. Let me see if it is water. You put your hands in, it doesn't make your skin wet, something else happens. It makes blisters on your hands. Then it is not water. You can decide that for yourself, because that particular liquid is not following the dharma of water. So, this is how the our rishis in scriptures have tried to explain this concept of dharma, which is applicable for everything in life. So basically, dharma in English you can say the eternal principles of life. A bird can fly, it is the dharma of a bird. And you put that bird in a cage, and after a few months, it cannot fly. Even if you try to release it, it is incapable of flying. So it is now an adharma, not for the bird, for you, because you have put that bird in a cage, that you have not allowed the bird to fly, to follow its own dharma. Now we come to human beings. For example, what is the dharma of an animal? If you observe any animal closely, it eats, it sleeps, it mates or copulates, and it is always aware and scared of dangers of its own survival. That is the dharma of animals. You don't expect anything more from them. As a human being, if you are just like them and nothing more, if you are just eating and sleeping and mating and trying to survive and always scared that our survival will be at risk, if our life energy is only restricted to that, then we have a human body, but we do not follow the dharma of a human. We are following the dharma of an animal, which is for a human adharma, opposite of dharma. So what is the dharma of a human being? From a worldly context, social context, from the context of relationships and work and occupation and profession, the dharma of a human being is humanity. And how do you break up this humanity? How do you define this humanity? Because it's a very vague word. Everyone will have his own definition of humanity. It is when your heart is filled with sincerity and love, which in Sanskrit is called Shraddha, and when your intelligence and your discrimination is based on conscience, which in Sanskrit is called Vivek. Vivek allows you to decide what is good and what is bad for you. Vivek allows you to decide and choose between what is right and what is wrong, between what you should accept and what you should reject. When these two things combine, Vivek and Shraddha, conscience and sincerity, then you have attained humanity. That is the basic sustenance of a human being. But that is not enough. As we have just said, it comes from the element of dhri, sustenance, that which sustains, and then gam, that which keeps us dynamic in the intended direction. So what is the intended direction of humanity? The intended direction of humanity is divinity. So this journey from animality to humanity and from humanity to divinity is dharma, essentially, at a larger context when we are talking about humanity in general. Now we will come to the concept of swadharma, the third word that we have used. Swadharma basically means, swadharma basically means individual attribute, individual nature, inherent individual nature. So while every human being has this dharma of humanity, as an individual, as a single unique person, you have your own dharma, especially when you are a seeker in the spiritual life. So it depends according to your mood, whether you are a meditative person, whether you are a devotional person, whether you are a discriminative person, whether you are service oriented. According to that, your path will be defined between you and your guru, because that will, your nature, your own individual nature will take you towards divinity. If you try to follow somebody else's nature, if you follow what others are doing generally, then that will be adharma for you. So, when you see organizations or institutions that are giving the same teachings to everybody, that are making them chant the same mantras, that are making them pray in the same way, doing the same rituals, following the same rules and the same attitudes, then you will know that this is completely, totally adharma, because each person has his own swadharma which is being violated. Now, you have to know your own nature. So, for a yogi and for a seeker, humanity is not the first priority, it is a consequence. So, what is the first priority for a yogi and a seeker? For them, the priority is prana. That is, for a yogi or for a seeker, their main dharma is prana. Prana, as you know, is your breathing mechanism. The fact that you are inhaling and you are exhaling, your respiration system. Now, why prana? Is it only prana that keeps you alive? There are also other energies in your body. The heart is pulsating, the blood is circulating, lot of enzymes are being secreted, your lungs are working, your liver is working, your kidneys are working. There are millions of synapses in your brain which are active, but you are not always aware of them. But prana is perceivable. You can feel your prana. If you want, you can be aware of your prana. So, prana is an indication that life is going on, life is moving. Not only moving, it is also going to its destination, that life will one day be no more. It reminds you of that. So, that is why for a yogi or a seeker, prana is very essential, because the moment he focuses on his prana, on his breathing, that makes him more intense, that makes him more present. The future and the past, they disappear. And slowly, the tendencies of the mind, the impressions of the mind, the desires and the thoughts, they begin to disappear. And deeper the mind goes till the mind ceases to exist and your consciousness starts to evolve to higher dimensions, towards divinity. So, that is the dharma of a yogi or a seeker. And in order to follow that dharma, in order to touch and feel that dharma, you need your swadharma. So, dharma is a very subtle expression actually. There cannot be a kind of a one definition which is applicable in all aspects of life. If you are a devotional person, and if you are trying to understand the mysteries of life through your intelligence, then you are not in swadharma. Only when you are in a devotional mood does your prana, the energy of your prana, begin to respond, and an inner energy starts to rise. And I hope you have understood now more or less the concept of dharma. The more you go deep into your experiences of life, the more insights you will gain, because dharma is not something that we define and then we start to follow. It is not like a constitution, it is not like a rule book. Every moment, every day, every evening, every situation, every atmosphere, you have to find, you have to discover your own role, your own dharma in that particular situation. Because even situations have a dharma. Suppose here we are, a few of us, and there is a teacher among us or a master among us who is telling us something very important. And most of the people are listening to him very intently. That is the dharma of this particular situation. And I, instead of listening to that person, I am picking up my cell phone and playing with it. I am browsing, I am scrolling, disturbing the atmosphere silently. Now, I am doing an adharma. Maybe I am a very dharmic person otherwise, but in this case, in this particular situation, I am doing a gross adharma. So, even situations is very important. Everything has a dharma. In the end, I would like to add that you begin your journey within yourself and find your own swadharma and move upwards to higher levels of consciousness. That is your dharma. The more you move upwards, the more you evolve, outwards, the more you expand through humanity, through compassion, through sympathy in every aspect of life, in profession, in occupation, in relationships, in society, in family, in every aspect of life, you grow as an individual, you grow as a person, as a human being, outwardly, expansively towards divinity, while inwardly you are vertically moving towards divinity. Then the internal dharma is reflected in the external dharma. If a person who is evolving internally, for example, if he becomes a politician, politics has a dharma. What is the dharma of politics? It is to serve the people, not only to serve his hunger or his craze for power. In education, suppose you are a teacher has a dharma. Counting his salaries is not his only concern. His main priority should be to inspire his students. That is his dharma. In every aspect, as a friend, as a lover, as a daughter or as a son, as a mother, as a father, every aspect of life, this dharmic quality, the evolved consciousness starts reflecting. I hope I have been able to clarify and give you an idea, a conceptual idea of what is dharma. But it is, that idea is also, remember, an evolving process. This is just a roadmap. It is something you have to continuously develop and instill within yourself. Now, the second word that you want us to discuss is Sankalpa. There are three words in Indian languages. Vasana means desire, Ichha means will, individual will, and Sankalpa, which roughly translated you can say a decisive determination. Vasana or this desire, we really do not have any control of this. It just comes to our mind and we become victims of our desires. Situations, relationships, incidents, events create desires continuously. It is coming from the information that is being fed to us through the outside world. And also there are impressions within our mind, our dissatisfaction, our craving, our yearning. And then will, when we talk about will, there is an element of control in will. That's something that I wish to do or will to do, but even there is a lot of ego, and it is a refined form of desire, the Ichha. And the Sankalpa is slightly different. But nowadays in India, we use the word in a diverse ways, but the fact remains that Sankalpa actually works for spiritually evolved people. For example, Buddha sat under a tree, and after lot of satsangs that he had with many gurus and masters and teachers, and not only satsangs and discussions, he did a lot of sadhana. Whatever they prescribed, he did. But he felt that nothing was happening to him. So he sat under a tree and he took a decision. It was a sankalpa that till I realize the truth of life, why is there pain, why is there suffering, why is there death, why is there disease, till I am enlightened, I will not stop trying. I will not even try to get up from here and take food from somewhere. I will not make any effort to live and survive till I attain that state of knowing. That is Sankalpa. It comes from the root kalpa, which means something that is projected, something that is imagined, and you add san to it, which means what makes it real, what makes it direct. Something that did not exist, you make it happen through your energy, through your higher level of consciousness. That is Sankalpa. So people will use this word in different ways. Of course, people will, when they take an oath or when they make a promise, they will use this word Sankalpa. But Sankalpa in its pure form is used for people who are not thinking about themselves, and that is very important. When we talk about desire or vasana, or even when we talk about ichha or will, there is the I there, there is an individual gain there. But when we talk about Sankalpa, the individual and the gain does not exist. For example, in the case of Buddha, he was still not enlightened, but he was not going for enlightenment for himself. He was trying to go for enlightenment so that he could give back something to the world, to the people who are suffering. So it was for the others. That is the meaning of Sankalpa. I'll give you another example. Suppose there is a rishi or a rishi-like figure or a very holy person who goes to a particular place. He is realized, he is enlightened, he does not have an ego of his own, a personal ego he doesn't have. And when he goes to that particular place, he sees that the people are suffering, people are in misery, people are ignorant, they are completely in the dark, their life is in squalor. He does not have an ego, but does not mean that he does not have compassion. His heart is full of compassion. So Sankalpa rises in him. It is not something that he decides for himself. Sankalpa rises in him, something must be done for these poor people in this particular area. Something has to be done. It is such a sad scene. It is so terrible to see. And then after a few days he leaves that place. And soon, somehow or the other, connections begin to happen. Strange things begin to happen. Like a new school is being built in that place. Like somebody comes to train the farmers to farm better. That the government suddenly takes notice and there is a new clinic with doctors and nurses with some medicines there. Then there is a new library there. Some new facilities are opening up. Then a bank and a post office and all this, not comforts of life, the essentials of modern life, which help the people to evolve, to grow faster. All this coming to being. People don't even realize that all this is because of that rishi who had come and visited this place only for a few days. This Sankalpa of that rishi is not really personal. It is an universal will, you can say. It is the universe which is creating that energy through that body. Because the universe or pure consciousness is impersonal. It needs personalities to improve or enhance the quality of life. And the universe can work only through those personalities who are spiritually enlightened or very evolved. Either they have no egos or their egos are like melted, molten, like the ash on the fire. You blow the ash and it goes away. That kind of ego. So Sankalp is not really an individual effort or an individual decision or an individual will. It is an energy that rises in a person out of compassion, out of love, for the welfare and good of others. I hope I've been able to explain this point. Thank you for today, and do send in your questions, all the viewers who are listening, and we will respond to them one by one. Namaskar, till we meet next time. Thank you.